Alrighty. Do you know, I'm not sure that I'm seeing, we're live, aren't we? We are live. Okay, so welcome everybody. If you arrived here, you're at the Be On Air Forum, and we're so excited to have you here with us. The Be On Air Forum is put on by the Be On Air Network of Media Schools. My name is Linda Lejeski. I am the National Employer Representative of the Be On Air Network. This is a career service initiative. It's brought to you so that you have an opportunity to meet the pros, to have a chance to develop your career, gain a little bit of education, and to grow your network. Some really important things in career development. We are really, really fortunate tonight for anybody who's been in suspense when they saw our guest name, Hayden Grove. I am happy to announce that Hayden is on The Voice. He's on this season of The Voice, and he is a local crooner from Cleveland. He's a sports reporter, and he's had this amazing experience after years and years of development that puts him smack in the middle of a great spotlight. And he's going to be talking to us about his journey. Along with Hayden, we have our two moderators. Everybody that's been here before is very familiar with Tony Lopez. Tony is a graduate of Illinois Media School. He is also the education coordinator at that school. Tony is a co-host to a podcast, The Parley, and he's involved in many, many different opportunities that are happening all around Chicago, bringing them back to our students. Amber, who is our co-moderator, is also a graduate. She's a graduate of Ohio Media School. She's a two-time graduate. Amber, we should give you a round of applause. She's very, very talented young lady. She came to us already working at Odyssey and Promotions, but through the years of her schooling, her brief time in school, she's now doing an abundance of projects. She's a producer. She has her own podcast, The Cleveland Collective, and she's also working as an account executive for the National High School Football Hall of Fame. She's interviewed a lot of football greats. Her first internship was with Hayden. So how cool is that? It's kind of a come full circle, and now the two of you will have an opportunity to interview him.
It's very full circle since it was with the orchestra that he's performing with today.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing.
That was the first time.
Unbelievable. Amber has been very ambitious in her internships, and I really encourage everybody to take that same pathway. I am going to sneak out of the way, but before I do, I want to encourage you to put comments in the chat, and if you have questions for Hayden, please feed them in, and we'll feed them to Tony and Amber, so you have a chance to learn from Hayden, because that's really the most fun about the show, right? That you have a chance to talk to our pro. Hayden, thank you for being here. And Tony, without further ado, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Linda, as always. And thank you for organizing these. Our students and people outside, honestly, of this community do benefit heavily from this. So we appreciate you and what you do for the forum itself. Also, thank you to Amber, who's my partner today here. A pleasure to see you again, as always. And
you as well.
Absolutely. And Hayden, welcome into the forum, man. And we know you're a busy man. You're doing big things, and we know we have a little bit amount of time with you, so we'll cut right to it. But thank you for being here with us as well, Hayden.
Thank you guys for having me. I was in a better place, but now I'm in a quieter place, so I guess it'll work. I don't know. We'll see.
Sounds good. Well, Hayden, man, let's talk about your journey, right? Of course, from alumni, right, from the school itself, from different places, but really you honed in on a lot of different opportunities. Talk about your journey and how you got to the opportunities you got to today.
Yeah. So, I mean, the journey is crazy. It's been a long one. I grew up in Florida, and my parents were from right here in Cleveland, or my mom was from right here in Cleveland. My dad met my mom in Cleveland, and Cleveland was always near and dear to my heart. So I always had kind of a dream to come here. I didn't know exactly what I was going to be doing here, but I sang my whole life, and I loved sports. So Those were always kind of my two passions. And essentially, without making a short story too long, I kind of went through some mental health struggles in my last couple of years of high school, and started to pursue music, but then just was not in a good place and kind of wanted to see what else was out there. So I ended up, going to school at Ohio State, and working in their journalism program and their communications program, and got some really amazing opportunities to cover, football team, basketball team, all that. So I ended up working really, really hard in college, like busting my butt day in and day out. And once I graduated college, I came up to Cleveland. Like I said, Cleveland was always the place I wanted to be. And was pretty soon after I got to Cleveland, I ended up getting a job at Cleveland.com. And once I got the job at Cleveland.com, I was introduced to a local musician. His name is Mike. He's a phenomenal player. We're still great friends. I'm actually performing with him next week, and he kind of relit the music fire within me. So, I kind of realized that was my first passion. That's my first love. That's the thing that I really love to do. And as hard as it is to do it, I just kept kind of grinding and kept kind of working and kept, giving myself opportunities to sing at at all kinds of venues. And I've been kind of growing my business over the last 6 to 8 years. And this summer or last year, I was approached with the opportunity to be on The Voice. I kind of first didn't think, I didn't think much of it. Like, these things kind of happen and you audition and then nothing comes of it. I just took it one step at a time, and I just kept moving forward. And then all of a sudden, I was on stage in California, which was pretty amazing. So, I'm very blessed to have taken the journey that I've taken. I know we'll get even more, but that's kind of the long story short of my journey.
That you got to take advantage of the opportunities with anything, and I see you as a person who did exactly that. And we talk to our students all the time, and I'm sure you know this. You have to do it all at some point, right? You almost feel like you have to put your feet wet in different categories in the industry, and you definitely are somebody who has done that. Amber, you've worked with Hayden before. I know you may have a couple questions for him, but really, how was it like working with Hayden and seeing his work? His almost workaholic ability, right, to be able to be successful, whatever was happening with him, man. He definitely pushed through. How was it working with him and getting to know him?
Honestly, just proud. I mean, huge amounts of pride. That happened to be my first internship just because I just got lucky. I had met Eric Dregney, who he'll be performing with tonight at Brothers Lounge. He works with an orchestra, the Sketch Anderson Band or Sketch Anderson Orchestra. But I was working with them and just hearing everything come together that first time, all the instruments, the vocals. He was performing. Ernie Nunez is another jazz singer in Cleveland that it also is phenomenal. But that got to be my first taste of just filming and live music, and it was awesome. We also got to film at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and that was kind of a taste of everything going wrong and also kind of working out. We thought we were going to have a stage. I went back to school mainly because I wanted to get equipment, and I had a camera that was not working at the time, and we also did not have a stage because there was a different event going on. So we got like a small drum room that you kind of had to make look cool while they were performing, but watching his ability to adapt and still perform in a tiny drum room and then see him perform on The Voice, it is a huge come around. So
Yeah.
proud of him, proud of his journey, and excited to see, each week where he's going to go.
Hayden, a lot of things happen quickly, right? For you, I know you've had your journey. What would you tell students that are aspiring to do anything that are that can be impatient, right? We see students all the time midway point through the program where they're just like, I don't know if this is for me. That happens, and we're human. That natural thought comes about, and I always warn them on day one. What would you tell students that are trying to push through, right, through something like that? I know you said you had some personal things as well that you had gone through, but what would you tell students if they're facing that right now themselves?
Yeah, well, first of all, Amber, you're very kind, and I appreciate you very much. It means a lot, truly. Um, that's that. I'm 32 years old, right? So like, this didn't happen overnight. Like this was a long, long journey. And I always thought like when I was 18, like that should happen now. Like it has to happen now. And when you go through life, I'm not super experienced by any means, but like I think that patience is the one thing that I feel like I am at. Like I always wanted instant gratification. I want things to be done now. Like I don't want the wait. I want them to be done now. Like let's get going. And God has preached to me patience throughout my life, in so many different ways. He's brought me, so many different opportunities to be patient. So what I would say is that if you really love first of all, I would say find what you love. It might
Mhm.
take you a while. It might take you a while to find what it is you love. Like if maybe you think you might love something, but then you really don't. Or maybe you think that, oh, I might like this, but you got to really love something. That's what it is. So if you think that media is really what you love, and you love sports and you want to be in it, or love journalism or whatever, like figure out that you love it first. It might take you a while. It might go down a different path. Like I said, I'm on a different path than I thought. Like I went into music and then I went into journalism and I went back to music, so because I love both. And that's kind of where, I would say for sure, find what you love. It might take you a while. It might take you through some journeys, but like see things through. Like you said, like if you're halfway through a program, finish it out. See if it doesn't feel right at the end, then it doesn't feel right. But give yourself that opportunity. Give yourself that chance to see, okay, I put my time in. I don't think it's the right fit. I'm going to move in a different direction. But I wouldn't just, remove yourself from the situation completely and say, well, yeah, it's really working out right now. So I'm just, switch paths and whatever. So it is what it is. We got people running through here. It's all
It's all good. It's all good. And one thing too that I've noticed, Hayden, I'm sorry, is when students are here, right? Obviously, social media is now it's the must. You have to do it. I know in your position with everything that you're doing, you have to be able to utilize it in a way that benefits you. So I would ask you, Hayden, how did you use social media to benefit what you're doing right now?
man. I remember probably a bad story to tell in this environment, but I'll tell it anyway because I think it serves a purpose. I remember specifically getting a Twitter account when I was in class in high school. Because I didn't, Twitter was like new in 2008, 2009. I remember exactly where I was. It was like, yeah. And then like seeing how, and okay, like you could do a lot of cool stuff. with this. And then I remember getting an Instagram account and being like, okay, Instagram, it's kind of like your photo album of your life. This is cool. So in learning and following other journalists and following other people in the journalism industry, which I was always fascinated because I kind of picked up on what they and I had my own ideas. Like, okay, this is kind of how I would do things. Like I would, if I ever had the position that they had, then I would, do this and this. And eventually I, was able to do that. So social media has played a huge role in all of it. Like following was one thing, but then I started following, artists and saying, okay, like here's what they're doing, like just learning and soaking it all in. So I wouldn't say to be, my friends would say I'm addicted to it. But it's not because like I'm addicted to, I'm not, I would say I'm more addicted to learning. Like I love to learn, like I love to see what other people are doing. Um, so we'll see. It's one of those things.
So I have a follow-up question with that. What you do with Cleveland.com, that
I'm
relies
trying to get
heavily on
better.
social media, right?
Yeah, it does. I'm trying to get better reception. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
It seems like everywhere is loud here. It seems like everywhere is loud here. So
We just
let's
hear
see
you.
if I
Don't
can
worry.
go out front. Okay. All right. Sorry about this. I thought I had the other room secure, but then apparently they're having an event over there. So
No, you're all good. You're all
It's just
good.
background music.
yeah, maybe we can go. That's outside.
This is fun though. We're
You know
getting
what?
a
Let's
tour,
go, Mike.
man. We're getting a
Yeah, you're
tour.
getting a tour.
Yeah, I
You know
haven't
what?
gotten
We're
a
gonna
chance
go.
to be
We're
there, so I feel like I am.
gonna go in. We're gonna go in the car. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go in the car. How you doing? That's where it's nice and quiet. So
There you go.
I understand. I'm hiding in the bedroom right now, and Kobe's saying
I get
"mommy" outside of the door, so you might see him soon.
okay. All right, we're in the car now.
Okay,
Are
we're
we
in
good
the
now?
car.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Sorry.
Alright.
Okay.
So your job at Cleveland.com, that position
Yeah.
relies heavily on social media, correct?
Yes, for sure.
Can you kind of dive in
So
what
that
that is?
yeah. So what I do for Cleveland.com is I post on their social channels. That's literally my job is to, to come up with engaging ideas, to come up with things that people will engage with, to be on top of news, to be on top of um to be on top of what's happening in the world of Cleveland sports. So the more I'm on top of it, the more that I am able to get that engagement and bring people in and get people excited. So that's my job is to, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, like that is pretty much it. Like that's my job is to post on those platforms to get people excited, to keep people informed, to keep people engaged. Um, and I remember in high school somebody said, "Hey, you're gonna have a job that doesn't exist yet." Like that's kind of how things work. And sure enough, I had a job that didn't exist at the time because like social media was just kind of a new thing and people, places didn't really know how to use it. So I'm heavily involved with social media. And that's why I was saying, I know we were having some connection issues and I apologize. But like I'm just such a consumer of it because the more I consume it, the more I learn about it, the more I feel that it can help me in my career, the more I can feel, help my company. Um, and it goes back to what you love. Like when you love something, and I do love social media, I think that social media can really be a fantastic tool when used appropriately and used correctly. Um, it can really bring people together, with common interests and whatnot. But when you really love something, you dive into it and you put your heart into it. And I think that it goes, that goes same with social media, same with, reporting, same with journalism, same with music. If you love something, you know, be a student, always consume as much as you can.
And on a flip side, do you think social media helped when you were trying to get your feet off the ground with being an artist and trying to like get booked at like you're at Tribs or Marble, was it Marble House? Marble Steakhouse?
Marble Room, Marble
Marble
Room. Yep,
Room. You
yep,
could tell I
yep.
haven't been there yet.
No, yeah,
But
no,
no,
I
you're all
I
over the
think that
place. I mean, even now after The Voice airing, you are still all over the place. And how did you start just with one place?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, yes, I think social media helped. I think having, I kind of developed a following through Cleveland sports, which was great. But I really didn't um, I really hadn't put myself out there musically, and I think that that took a little bit of time because I wasn't really confident in that like people would be receptive to it, and some weren't. It is what it is. But like the people that supported me. So like when I started to put my music out there, like they're like, "Oh, okay, like he's pretty good, whatever." Um, so yeah, so like having a following through sports helped me to start to book these places. And it was essentially, I mean, after the pandemic, is really when I started to put a lot more time and effort in because I felt like there was a clean slate. Like I felt like places were gonna figure out what they were gonna do with entertainment and what they were gonna do with live music. And I was like, I just wanted to be the first one in the door, like saying, hey, I'll play here, like I'll play, you know um I'll play I would love to play whenever, just let me give me the opportunity. So I just wanted to get my foot in the door. And then once that happened, then you kind of, continue to creep the door open a little bit further and further. But social media definitely had a huge role in that. Given that at least people knew who I was from, a sports standpoint, maybe that made them more willing um, tune in from or, listen from a music standpoint.
So we had somebody comment that they love what they do, but they can't stand social media. Is there any pointers for that?
Well, I'm assuming they do journalism, or they're in the media school or something along those
Yes.
lines. That's a tough one. That's a tough one because I don't want to discourage you. Because if you love what you're doing, that's amazing. But also, it's just I feel like the world we live in, social media is so much of what we do. I really do. It's like it's unfortunate. I would say if you don't love social media, maybe find something that's tolerable, right? Something that you're like, okay, I don't hate this so much because I get it. I know why people hate social media. It's not because it's not because of the platform. It's not because like, oh, I don't like looking at videos. No, it's because of what people say and how people are. I understand that. Like there are some people on social media that are awful, like, and they're there specifically to make other people feel bad and to make other people, you know, um, put other people down and make themselves feel better. I get that. Believe me, I get that. Being a sports reporter, being out in public eye, that like there are people that tear me down constantly, and it took a while to build thick skin. So what I would say is like find something that you find tolerable, and find the good in it. Like find the good parts. If there's something there's one little thing you enjoy, maybe just focus on that because I know how difficult it can be to be in the journalism sphere and not be on social media. So. Um, it's a really tough question because social media is such a part of what we do in journalism today.
No, absolutely. And you had, what was your, I don't want to butcher it, but wasn't it over 100,000 followers on TikTok?
I'm at 72,000.
So
Seventy-two
still pretty
thousand.
close.
Yeah, yeah,
How did
yeah,
you get
yeah. I
there?
mean, I love. Well, first
Only
of all, I love Tik.
72,000.
I love. Yeah, I love TikTok because I truly believe that it's a like it's a great place for people who have similar passions. Like when you're scrolling, if you love music, like it's going to show you a lot of musicians, and a lot of the people on the app are really supportive. I think it's a really supportive community. Um so TikTok specifically is probably my favorite app at this point. And the reason I got there was Michael Bublé. I mean, that's the honest to God truth. Like, I think I had 30,000 followers, and I had some videos do okay. Like, I just sang. I mean, really, I didn't do anything special. I just put sang songs and did duets with people, and just enjoyed it. And then I just so happened to catch the attention of my hero, and he seemed to really, love my or like what I was doing, and ended up following me. And then, in the middle of one of his concerts, ended up, shouting me out and saying, "Hey, follow this guy." And the video got like, over 1 million views, and I think I picked up over 40,000 followers just from that video alone. So it's kind of crazy how one little thing can just spark, and it wasn't a little thing. Like it's the biggest blessing. There's no way I'm on The Voice without that. There's no way any of this happens without that. So it was a huge moment, and I'm so grateful for it. um the best moment of my life up until I got on The Voice stage, which I'm just so grateful for. But yeah, it's been I just try to post consistently, and just try to, again, put my passion out there. I think people love to see when people are authentic, and love to see when people just do what they do, whatever it is you do.
Absolutely. I'm sure as weeks go on, that following is going to be increasing. So you
We'll
mentioned
see.
Michael Bublé, and I know you're a super fan of his. So that had to be a full circle moment to be on the same stage as him, and you're essentially performing for the back of his head, but you're performing for him. And what does that feel like?
Yeah. Yeah, it was performing. It wasn't even the back of his head. You can't see the back of his head. You can only see the chairs. Um, just the red. You can only see red chairs in front of you. It's pretty intimidating. I can't lie. It was amazing. They asked me. I know they on the clip on the little package that they did, they asked me, well, you think Michael will recognize you? I said 100% he's going to recognize me. It's just a matter of whether he recognized my voice or not. So like it was a little nerve-wracking being like, I know he's going to know who I am. I know that he's going to know me. Like, I just hope I do a good enough job, and that he appreciates it. And I still think, he didn't turn. I get that, but I still think I did the best that I could. And I know he gave me some pointers, and I'm so appreciative of that. But it was nerve-wracking, no doubt. There was a little bit of added pressure knowing that, like, okay, like this guy has supported you, this guy has, really been in your corner. You better not let him down. So I gave it my best.
And that's amazing. I can't imagine it. And then you got to have your parents there with you. So how was that?
Yeah, my parents being there was incredible. They've been with me through, I kind of give you a little rundown of my story, but I mean they've been with me the whole way. Like, they asked, who are you going to bring? And I wasn't even a question. It was my parents. Like, I had a girlfriend at the time, and like, I loved her very much. And I, was like, okay, like I would love to bring her, but I can't. It's got to be mom and dad. Like, they've been there through, hell and high water, for lack of a better term. I mean, we went through some pretty bad, rough times when I was going through my mental health stuff, and they were there for me, and they came. My mom drove me to every rehearsal and every voice lesson and every, you know, day at school. I would sing with the jazz band before school, before anybody else got there. So, like, the amount of sacrifice and effort that they both put forward, like, it was just so amazing to see. Like, not that I have made it by any means, but like to see that, like, their hard work and their support and their love, like, got me to that point. Like, it was as much a reflection on them as it was on me. Like, that's them being amazing parents. That's them being so supportive. That's them pushing me. They push me. Like, they were not coddling parents. Like, they were not the kind of parents that were like, oh, everything's okay. You're okay. Like, good job. Like, no, like, if I stunk, or if I didn't prepare well enough, they were the first people to tell me. Like, and, I kind of resented it at some points in my life, but looking back, it was the best thing to happen to me, because it gave me that knowledge that I can do better. I can be better. Like, it gave me motivation. So,
Mhm.
they supported me and they loved me, and they were hard sometimes. And I think that's, there's a delicate balance there I'm not a parent. You are, obviously, Amber. I am not a parent, so I can't say firsthand. But, like, if I ever am lucky enough to become a parent one day, like, the line between, being supportive and loving and being tough is, there's definitely a line. And
It's
I think
hard.
they definitely straddled it. They definitely did a job balancing it as well as they could.
You
And
know,
Tony, I don't want to hog it.
no, this is great. Hey, you're doing your thing. I love it. I love the questions, man. Those are awesome questions. Hayden, one of the things that our students we preach to our students is, besides what I gave you before, was the fact, and the reality of, you have to network outside of the building. And you're gonna get your skill set here. You're gonna learn what you need to learn. You're gonna do all this here, and you'll be okay in school. But for you to get the opportunities to get paid to branch out, you gotta network. That's the word, network. So I want you to, if you can, dive into this, how important networking is. Like, you have to do your thing at school, but whether it be an internship, whether it be you out there doing free work in the beginning of this thing, you have to network to be successful. And if you can dive into more how important networking is, especially in this industry.
It's the only thing. It's the only thing.
There you go.
It's not even like, no, like, I'm not saying that. I'm trying to put this delicately, because I'm not trying to be too harsh. Like, journalists, what we do is not like, it's not rocket science, right? Like, we're not like doing all these fancy equations, and like, we don't need to have like some sort of a lot of book knowledge. It's really not about book knowledge. Like, yes, you go to school to learn things. Like, there are absolutely things that you need to learn in school. Like, I taught at the Ohio Media Center. Like, I went to journalism school, and it's 100% things that you have to learn, and you know take tests on. But people are the only things that, like, what are you, when you're doing a story, when you're doing a podcast, you're talking to people, you're talking about people. The more people you know, the better experience you have in life. It's going to allow you to ask better questions. It's going to allow you to, you know um have more in common with people. I mean, networking is the only thing. It really is. Like, yes, learn what you need to learn in school, but then, if you're somebody who does your work at school and then just goes home and doesn't do anything, then you're not gonna find people. You're not gonna find opportunities. You're not gonna connect with people. Connecting with people is like the biggest thing in journalism. You're how do you think look at like a guy like, say, like Adam Schefter, right? Adam Schefter didn't get his job because he is the world's best writer, or he is not, the world's best talk show guy. He got his job because he had so many connections and people felt comfortable telling him news, like telling him things that they want to, that he wants to, that they want to be reported. So like the same thing goes for any other job in journalism. Like you got to connect with people, whatever it is, whether it's a producer, whether it's a host, whether it's somebody behind the scenes. Like the more connections you make, the more opportunities you're going to have. So meet everybody, go everywhere. That would be my biggest piece of advice to any journalist, is just be there. Wherever it is, be there, because you don't know who you're going to meet. You don't know who you're going to be able to talk to. Like, get yourself in the door, and maybe the first time you don't do a lot of work, but like you just meet people, and then the work comes, and then the opportunities come. So networking is the most important thing in journalism. I don't think there's any question about that. And it's also important in music, because you meet somebody and you play with somebody and they like you, and they'll invite you to the next gig, and they'll say, hey, I'd love to play with you again, like, or hey, I thought you did a great job, like, I would love for you to play at a restaurant again. Like, it's all about who you know in this world. I could not believe that any more fully than I do right now.
Absolutely. And just a reminder to our audience, we do have about 14 minutes left with Hayden here. So if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the chat. We will bring them up earlier than usual. Like that, we can get some questions answered. But please, if you have any questions, again, put them in the chat. We will display them, and Hayden will answer them as well. Amber, for you two, this is really for both of you. I know you guys have kind of reversed in both genres when it comes to music and it comes to sports. When in this industry, is it similar, or is there huge differences when it comes to the media industry?
I'd say that they're different but similar. I don't know. Music feels more. I don't know. Maybe Hayden can explain it better than I can.
Yeah, I think in both cases it's about who you know. I really do. I don't think that either case it's about, yeah, you can be super talented, but if you're not nice, or you're not comforting, or you're not good at communicating, then nobody's going to want to play with you, and nobody's going to want to help you. And the same goes for the media. You could be the best writer in the world, or you could be the best talk show host in the world, but if you're not somebody that somebody wants to work with, then nobody's going to want to work with you. Nobody's going to give you that opportunity. I would say that they're different, and that they're very different, and like it's just they're different things. Media is, you know, kind of the opposite. Like being in music, you're on the stage, it's your show. Like, whereas media is kind of like you can sometimes be behind the scenes, more like, producing or writing, or, posting social media. Like most of the stuff I post on Cleveland.com, nobody knows it's me posting. It's just, through the Cleveland.com lens. So, um, I think there's a little less pressure in that way sometimes, but certainly music is there's a lot of pressure on you, because you're not hiding behind it. It's your talent, your voice, your abilities that are right out there for the world to see. So I would say there are similarities, and yes, like they're both about who you know, but also like very different in kind of the way that things happen.
I think mine is more one is more creative and one's more fact based. And you could still have your opinions
Yeah.
on sports, but you still have to reference a fact or you sound like an idiot. So the difference with, I mean, there's still structure with music. You still have to be on time. You have to be on point. The cameras have to be right. All your equipment has to work. You have to be good. Your band has to be good. But there's more creative liberties than with sports. It is what it is. And the creative liberties are in the editing. You could be creative with your questions and try to be different. You could be creative with how you present your information, but you're going to present essentially the same information as somebody else. But music could be something totally different, even if it's like with Hayden and some of the music that's going to be performed tonight. It's music that, people have performed before. People, I mean, Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett, Dean Martin, all those people perform the same exact songs. But with music, you change something, or you add an orchestra or a different singer, and it's something totally different. So that is, I guess, the words I was looking for the first time around. Just the creative part, creative
That's a
liberty
really great
more.
that's a really great way. Yeah, that's a really great way of putting it. You're right. You nailed it. Nailed it.
Thank you. You too.
Great, it's great answers. And all of it. When it comes to media, you both know this well. I mean, there's so much involved. At the end of the day, we are entertainers, right? We're providing content, we're creating content for the masses to see, and it's basically, we want to make sure that people are entertained, right? And so I always call people at the end of the day, whatever what you're doing, you're an entertainer of sorts. Hayden, I'll ask you this. You're obviously, you said you're on The Voice, and it's that's got to be one of the most awesome accomplishments of your career thus far. How is it managing what you're doing right now with The Voice? Is it a lot of elements to the game? We're not asking to talk about the show itself, but like what you do, does it entail a lot? Do you wake up early? Are you there all day? How does that work for you?
Yeah, I mean, I work remotely, so it's actually kind of, I'm able to delegate my time pretty well. I have a boss who's really trusting, and we've worked together for a long time. So like, it's just been and she knows, like, my company has been super supportive of the opportunity and super supportive of me just in general. So they've been so good. But yeah, it's been difficult. It's I would say less now. Like, it used to be so difficult to manage, you know, my job with my singing career. It really was, like, because I'm trying to be like I said, be everywhere and be at everything, and it's a lot. It's a lot to do. Like, I feel like sometimes I wasn't giving myself enough, like, R&R, and I needed to, like, rest and relax and, like, give myself, because then you'd get, there were times where I wouldn't want to do something that I probably should want to do. So, like, just taking care of your mental health, your physical health is the most important thing in life. So I probably at times neglected that a little bit, and was more focused on just being everywhere and doing everything. So it does get difficult, absolutely. I mean, you know you're at games all the time, or you're working, and then you're burning it at both ends. You're working during the day, and then you're going to gigs at night, or you're working during the week and you're gigging on weekends. It's a lot. It's a lot to do. But like I said, when you love it, it's worth it. I think if you love something, and I say this about anything in life. If you love something, you I when I love something, I give my everything to it, no matter what it is. So if I really love it, I have no problem giving everything to it. Absolutely.
And there's some questions here on the chat. I'm not. I know you kind of explained a little bit of it, but I'm just going to kind of bring them out here real quick because I know we're limited on time here with you, Hayden. One question that I see on the chat was, how do you keep your nerves down from whatever you're doing? Right? How does that happen for you?
Yeah, yeah, that's a tough. I think that go be making my this. I just kind of learned this about myself the other day. Like, because I've been asked this question a bunch, and like my answer is always like I don't. My answer is always like I don't know. Like, you just deal with it. But I think the way to deal with nerves is to put yourself in situations where you're nervous. Like, the more you're nervous, the less you're going to be nervous. If that makes any sense. Like, if you're doing something and you're putting yourself out there and you're nervous, that's going to make you so much better every single time you do that same thing. So, like, the first time, there's not much you can do. You're going to be nervous. It's going to take
Yeah.
over you. But if you keep doing it and keep doing it, keep doing it, then you're going to know not only how to handle those nerves, but maybe you're going to be less nervous. Like, when I went out on the people, have asked me a bunch of times, hey, how do you, how nervous were you going out there on stage with The Voice? So I was nervous, but, like, once the music started, I was ready to rock and roll, because I've been through this. I've put myself out there. I've been on stages. I've, you know, been in front of crowds, been in front of friends. I mean, that's, so the answer would be to, if doing something that makes you nervous, keep doing it, and you'll figure out a way to either conquer the nerves or to manage the nerves enough to where, okay, I know what I'm doing, and this is a good heart rate, this is a good thing, and it kind of shifts your mindset a little.
That's great advice.
That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. Our next question is from Brandon DeRizo. He says, "What's the best way to navigate TikTok?" He's posted to it, but he's only been on there a couple months. So what is the best way to navigate TikTok?
Hey, Brandon, I'm not, I'm not an expert. I don't claim to be an expert, but what I would say is to just be consistent. Like, be creative, be consistent, post often. Like, this summer I didn't post often because, like, I was going through everything. But now that I've kind of had a long time where, like, I have content planned like for almost every day. So just be consistent, and not necessarily consistent in what you post. Like, yeah, if you're a singer, post yourself singing. Yeah, like, if you're an artist, post your artwork. Or if you're a comedian, post funny words stuff. But, like, be consistent. That's the only thing I would say is, like, you know, whatever it is, be consistent with it. Keep posting it, and, like, you'll get into the algorithm, and people will be like, oh, this is a whatever. This is a sports guy. He loves sports. I love sports. I'll follow him. Or, like, this is a Cleveland guy. I love Cleveland. I'll follow him. It's just whatever it is. Be consistent with it and keep putting it out there.
Amber, you have any other questions for Hayden before he has to jet in a couple minutes here?
You mentioned mental health a couple times. You had a
Yeah.
campaign going where you were trying to advocate for mental health and an awareness. Do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Yeah. So I've mentioned it a couple times. When I was about a senior in high school, my mind just started to go really dark. Like, it was really dark. Like, I didn't know where it came from. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know, like, I thought, like, something was, like, I thought honestly, like, that I needed to, like, be committed into an institution because, like, my brain wasn't working normally. Like, I was a pretty happy-go-lucky kid. Like, I played sports, I did music, like, I had friends, like, I was, pretty outgoing, like, and then all of a sudden, like, it just hit me like a ton of bricks, and I was like, what is going on? I had always worried my whole, like, my pre-genetic disposition is to worry. Like, my mother's a huge worrier. It's just in my family. Worrying is in my family. But, like, this was not just worrying, this was, like, dreading, and, like, just a lot of negative and bad feelings, and, like, not wanting to get out of bed in the morning, and crying, and just not being able to focus on anything. And my parents saw, like, I was losing weight, and just it wasn't like, it was very apparent that something was wrong. So, like, luckily they kind of were like, okay, we're gonna, take you to see somebody, like, because you're not, this isn't you. You're not, this is not the normal Hayden. So I saw a psychiatrist, and I was eventually diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder, with anxiety and with depression. And it was a relief, honestly, because I was like, oh, like, this is not something that nobody's ever seen before. This is the stuff that happens. I'm like, okay, thank God, like, that there's a diagnosis, and, like, this can be helped. So, I went on medication, and got better, and started to wane off the medication again, like, because I was like, oh, I'm good now, like, we're good. And so I started to wane off the medication, and then then it wasn't so much the depression this time. Then it was really the anxiety and the OCD that, like, came into play. So I developed an eating disorder. I was diagnosed anorexic, and that was my senior year in college. And it just kind of was at that point where I was like, okay, like, you just gotta, like, if it takes, whatever it takes to keep your mental health, like, that is the most important thing. That is the most important thing in your life. Like, you cannot let anything affect your mental health. Like, whatever it is, if it's affecting your mental health, you don't need it, because being in those places is not anywhere I would want anyone to ever go. So since then, I've been lucky enough to be in a kind of good place to know kind of what works and what doesn't for me. And my goal is to help those people that feel like I did, like, that they may not know where to go, or they may not have the resources that I had. Like, their parents may not be able to tell what's going on, and they don't know how to address it. Like, I want to be there and to tell them, hey, it's okay to be okay, or it's okay to not be okay. You are not alone in this. This is not something that is, singular to you. There are so many of us that go through it. So my goal is to bring as much mental health awareness, as much help and love to those who struggle with various illnesses. And I want to be a somebody who makes sure that nobody feels the way I felt, alone, dark, and like there was no way out. I'm going to be working with a group called Life Act here in Cleveland, which is awesome. They are basically, I hadn't heard of them until recently, but basically what they do is something that I wish that I had when I was in school. They go into schools and they promote mental health awareness, and they promote and they have resources for children and students, who may be struggling. So when I heard about them, I was like, I need to be involved. I need to help. This is exactly what I want to do. So looking forward to working with Life Act, and just, really, really want to continue helping people that, are struggling mentally.
That's incredible, and thanks for sharing all of that.
Yeah.
That definitely helps people when people can see the transparency, because all you see are the pictures and the videos. And you're like, oh my God, this person's life is great. Like, what do they have to worry about? But seeing that the actual human behind all of that, and that we all struggle with different things, is something that could definitely help somebody.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the goal. Like, social media is a highlight reel for sure, but like, we all the one thing, and I'll try to keep it quick. The one thing about life is that, doesn't matter how much money you have, doesn't matter how good looking you are, doesn't matter how great your job is, doesn't matter if you live in the most beautiful place in the world. Mental health, these things don't care. Like, you can certainly have depression, anxiety, OCD, any kind of mental health disorder, no, regardless of what your situation is. Like I said, you could have everything you seem to want, and yet you can still not be okay. So yeah, don't let the posts fool you. Like, people struggle, and like that's why I try to be as transparent and open as possible, because like, God has been very good to me, and I've been very blessed. But also, like, I've had my struggles, and I still have my struggles, and I want people to know that, like, it's okay to have struggles, and like I want to help people with their struggles, because I remember being there, and it was a place that I never want to go back to.
We thank you for being so transparent with us, and Hayden. I hope that, the comment section is definitely, concurring with you, and just thank you for that.
Yeah,
It's
man.
it's a real issue, right? And you fought out of it, and we commend you for it.
Oh, thank you. I mean, like I said, my parents were so wonderful. Like, but I was lucky. I was lucky that they saw that I was struggling, because if they didn't, I don't know where I would be, or what I would have done. So, if you think you're struggling, reach out to somebody you love, somebody you trust, or there are great organizations, there are helplines. There are people that are there to listen to you, and I'm not a professional, but if you want to, if I'm always here to at least guide you in the right direction. That's what I want to do. So um, always reach out. Always reach out. You are not alone. I promise.
Amber, any final words before Hayden has to leave?
Thank you again for that. I just want you to be able to let people know how to follow you and find your music that's already on Spotify and other places.
Yeah, thank you so much. And again, thanks to Amber for having me, and for setting this up. And thank you, Tony. I appreciate you. Thank you, Rips. She doesn't get enough love and credit, because she does an amazing, amazing job.
Hi.
Yeah, I know she's down there somewhere, or she's in here somewhere. Um, but yeah, so you can follow me on social media at H_Grove. It's that little lower dash thing. And that's on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, think, like, even threads and all that stuff that I don't, I kind of focus on the main ones. And then you can find my music under my name. You can Google it. It's on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, Amazon Music. It's wherever music is. And I'm certainly working on putting out new music, always, especially now. So I'm working on some things, and I hope to have some music out within the next year. So yeah, you can find it there. And again, I appreciate so much the opportunity, and I'm just grateful. So thank you very much.
We're grateful too. Thanks for coming on. And then also, who are you going to be performing with tonight, and where are you going to be at?
Yeah, tonight I'm at Brothers Lounge in Cleveland, Ohio, off of 117th. We every Monday night the Scatch Anderson Orchestra. It's an 18-piece big band at five saxophones, four trombones, four trumpets, a drummer, a piano player. So it's the whole deal. They perform every Monday night here at Brothers from 8 to 9:30. I'm joining them tonight, which is always a treat and a pleasure. So yeah, that'll be tonight from 8 to 9:30.
All right. Well, thank you. I'm going to let you go so you can get to rehearsal. But we would love to have
I
you on
appreciate it,
again.
guys.
And thanks.
Absolutely.
It's an honor and pleasure to meet
Thank you
you,
guys so
Hayden.
much. You as well, Tony. God bless you. Thank you, man. Thank you. God bless you, everybody. Thank you. And
Have fun.
sorry for the connection. Sorry for the connection delays. I had the whole thing set up, and then like they started putting like I saw a guy like loading up stuff. Like I thought it was gonna be a quiet room, and then I saw a guy like loading up stuff, and I'm like, oh no, it's gonna get loud in here. So I apologize. It's my bad.
It was a beautiful supply closet.
Yeah. All right, guys. God bless you. Take care. Thank you.
All right.
Take care, Hayden. And Amber, you have firsthand, obviously, working with him and so forth. Like, you talked about how it was with him and how it was to be able to get to know him and so forth. But it's pretty remarkable how people forget that in this industry, people do suffer from mental health sometimes. There's a lot that happens that can get you to that point. And so, I mean, I was just astounded by, how he was able to battle out of it. But I'm sure you can attest to it, knowing him in person, how he's persevered through a lot.
Honestly, I feel like he holds it together pretty well. Where I admire him bringing up mental health and the things that he's gone through, because you wouldn't know it unless it came out of his mouth. And that doesn't mean anything. You don't have to hide anything. But I love when people are transparent and open about the ugly, because that's what people actually benefit from. I mean, we can all go on here and brag about how great we are and how we don't have problems and, blah, blah, blah. But that doesn't benefit anyone. Nobody cares. And what is it? So let's just say what it is, what we go through, and try to pass something on where it actually benefits someone, and maybe you could help them. So definitely commendable that he brought it up. But super hard work ethic. I mean, whether I was working a Cavs game and I was seeing him, going and reporting on something, or he was working a gig, performing with a band or by himself or whatever. I mean, it just constant movement. So that out of anybody, I definitely applaud, because it's hard to get the momentum and keep it going.
Yeah, and ironically, I'm a musician myself, and I was reporting for the Bulls, and so his story, I was so relating to him and everything he was saying, and I had a low moment myself. I did have a moment where, things weren't really, falling in line to what you're planning, right, or what your goal was, and I would ask myself, like, I think this is not it. This is not it. I'm a failure. Just really dark thoughts, right? And maybe not to his level, but this industry can take you down a couple rabbit holes that aren't good. I'm sure, Amber, you have stories of your own where you felt the same way. You're just like, this is probably not it. But I mean, like I've been saying, like we've always said in this forum, like you have to keep pushing.
What I like the most with the advice was the make yourself as uncomfortable as possible, because I found a lot of comfort in comfort, but not a whole lot of growth. And times, when you would just try to find your safe place and you're like, okay, I'm going to stay here because this is what I'm used to. It's cool. But the moments where I threw myself out there, and I mean, public speaking, I was terrified of public speaking when I was a child. And now here we are. So, I mean,
Yeah.
The more you challenge the scary thing, it's nothing. So I really appreciated that a lot, with some of the advice, but I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean it's definitely it was very encouraging. I was definitely encouraged by his words, and I don't know him, but I am so proud of him.
Yeah.
Like I'm really proud for him, and seeing him go through performing and telling us the stories, like he definitely is a normal person trying to achieve a dream, and right now he's doing it. He's doing it. It's been I'm sure it was a journey, but he's doing it. And I'm glad you got to see a part of it too when you went an intern.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very cool that you got to see that person perform all of that before it'll, start costing money. Like, it was just cool. I mean, him and Ernie and, the Scatchy Anderson Orchestra, I kinda struck gold. I needed intern hours. I was trying to find a way to go about it, and there wasn't a whole lot at the time that I could do. I mean, I was already working at Odyssey. I got intern hours, working events and stuff there, but I was trying to reach what I needed, so I was getting experience anywhere. And they said that I could point a camera at them and record and do whatever. And then they needed help with promotion, so I did that. But it was just meeting anybody that was willing to let me help and get my hours and get experience. And then all three of them, Ernie was on, I believe, America's Got Talent. Um, Hayden's having his moment on The Voice. Um, Eric Dragney and the orchestra are doing great things, and I struck gold finding people to intern. So I got lucky with that. They're going to be performing tonight, and just very happy for him. And
Well,
look
it
forward to
was
seeing what's on the show, and hopefully we get to hear more about it.
yeah, for sure. We're gonna have to have him back at some point. I know Linda will organize that, but he was awesome to speak to. And Amber, I'm so happy you were able to be. I mean, you were able to help me moderate. You knowing him on a personal level, he had some really good questions for him, and I learned a lot. So I appreciate you as well for coming on and doing this with us. And shout out to Nicole. I see she says she loves Tilo as well. And also shout out to Calvin. He had a question. He did go though, but we thank you for coming in and participating. And RC Murphy, as well, he's been chatting through the chat all night long. But thank you so much for being part of this forum. Linda, thank you for having me again, as always. Again, we got to learn from an awesome human being and definitely learned a couple things about him and was encouraged myself from his story. And this was pretty awesome. So, Linda, thank you so much.
Thank you. That's really beautiful. I have to say, just have to reiterate that. And I think that whenever you get to really hear a real piece of somebody's story, it makes you want to, rally up behind them even more. And it really allows you to see all the things that you're capable, each of us are capable of. So, and in knowing Amber has a story too, and she's a single mom. There's a lot of things in Amber's life, but their obstacles get moved to the side rather than being an obstacle you can't get over. And so the reason I popped on a little bit early is I just wanted to share this thought with everybody. It is so important when there is something that you want to do that you work to try to make that happen. So what I mean by that is sometimes you think, I couldn't possibly outreach that person or ask that person if they'll be on my podcast and so on and so forth. But this is a testament to when you ask, you don't know what you're going to receive. And very often people genuinely want to help you. If you give them a reason to want to help you, they're on your side helping to push you along. And I think this whole story tonight, as excited as we are for Hayden and his journey, it really is a story about life and taking those chances and asking that next question, everybody. Don't be afraid to ask, because in asking, you do receive and great things do come from it. So stay persistent for everybody here. Amber, we love having you. Thank you so much for bringing this together. Tony, a beautiful job. Holly's down under. Holly's always here and so supportive of everything that we do as we move through the hour. Thanks for joining us. And we are going to be back again in 2 weeks, where our guest is going to be Encore Live Event Company. And they're going to join us to talk about getting through the interview process. But even more important than that, the discussion is going to be on how to best prepare yourself to interact with the public that a company is going to bring to you so that you're work ready and you're very hireable for these wonderful opportunities. So we look forward to that. We have another guest following that. We're going to have a little fun on the red carpet, learning how to be on the red carpet and how to interview. So good things ahead for all of us. Stay tuned, and we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.